Yeah, welcome everybody to another episode of the OpEdia, the podcast, the home of my personal opinion on news stories that really, affects the millennials and the Gen Z and even Generation Alpha to be able to give you a better perspective, especially those from the African continent like myself. That this is something that is worth taking note and at the same time you use as a food for thought or something worth discussing with the loved one. So that's what the podcast is all about. It's all under the Soul Podcast Network, SOW in capitals, which are all represent my full names. And as you all know, I'm the host, solomonokukuwafua, and that's my podcast network. And yeah, this is what this podcast brings to your table. It's all about personal opinion, just like you see in the newspapers, and mine is just to use it in form of podcast. Either you see me right now on the video, or you're listening to me as an audio, or you listening to me via different podcast platforms, and that's my duty. And I hope you're blessed with the content that I've put so far from wherever you are. But thank you once again to whoever is watching me or listening to me from whatever time zone you're in around the world. I hope that the content that I've put so far has blessed you, or that has given you something worth discussing. And I know that as you continue, commenting and sharing and following the podcast on the social media handles that I've displayed some episodes ago, then I believe the channel is going to grow, the network is going to grow, and have a bigger influence, not just on the millennials but also the Gen Z and the Generation Alpha that is yet to be fully realized. And that's what I'm going to do on the OpEdia podcast. And today on the OpEdia podcast, today's focus is going to be on the millennial and the Zuma billionaires. The millennial and Zuma billionaires. Now, why did I pick this topic? It's because not many millennials and Zoomers, or should I say Gen Z, if you are to ask them how many billionaires do they know, most of them will either scratch their heads and keep quiet, or they will give wrong answers as they attempt to answer. But if you want to know how many millennial billionaires as of 2021, even as Forbes magazine are going to release the 2022 list within the next few weeks, then let me allow you to give you the answer. And let me start going ahead with the podcast. So yes, first of all, before I answer and the actual question that maybe starts this episode of the podcast is, first of all, do you know what Zuma is? If you can remember, an episode or two ago I was speaking about the Zuma Generation. Now the Zuma Generation is the same as the Gen Z or the Generation Z. Now this is a generation cohort that according to Pew Research Center, where they are born between 1997 to 2012, and most of them say that these are the first ever digital native, because they were born in a digital era. As you all know, the digital era or bubble, or the dot-com bubble began in the late 90s all the way to the early 2000s. And I'm sure if some of you, maybe you are taught in class, you are aware that it's mostly known by Microsoft and Amazon and eBay that picked up pace during that era, and really dictated the digital world, even as we see it right now as a witness. And even with the technology that is advancing at a very fast pace, and they are the first digital generation, and even the first ever generation cohort in the 21st century. So that's the Zuma. And of course the millennial, you can remember when I was talking about suicides in the debut episode, millennials are those who are born between 1981 to 1996. For people like me, being a millennial, that is our category, and that is all, of course, classified according to the Pew Research Center. Now I was doing some research some time back, and I've noticed that according to the 2021 Forbes Billionaires list, which was released in April last year, now I found out that 121 billionaires were enshrined in that list last year. And out of the 121 billionaires who are ages 40 and below, one of them is a Zuma or a Gen Z, and that person's name is called Kevin David Lehmann, a German billionaire who is still in his late teens, who inherited the drugstore chain in Germany from his father, who is still alive but is no longer on the day-to-day role of the company, which has been there for generation to generation. Yeah, so he's the only Gen Z billionaire in the Forbes list, and even if you were to look at the real-time ranking, he is still the only teen in the Forbes list, but it was inherited, which is the opposite of self-made, so to speak. Yeah, so, and then if you are to take the rest, 120 billionaires, they are all millennials. Now millennials, if you look at last year's list, could be from since the earliest, or should I say the youngest millennial is in 2000 and in 1996. So my belief is the youngest millennial billionaire is at the age of 24, if my memory serves me right. So it's only one teenager in the Forbes list. Even if you look at it right now, he's still there in the list, but right now he's 19. He's going to turn 20 in September this year, 2022. Yes, so according to the stats I did, I broke it down into subsections to just give you a perspective of how it looks like. Now if you are to do from 20 to 24 years old, there are only two millennial billionaires in that list for last year. Then if you break it to 25 to 29 years old, there are 7 billionaires from the millennial age. And then if you look at from 30 to 34 years, it's 24. And then if you go to 35 to 39 years old, it's 72. That's like 3 times the number. And then people who are 40, they are 15. So if you now make it a bigger group, from 20 to 29 years old, there are 9 billionaires, And then if you go to 30 to 39 years old, there are 96 billionaires, so to speak. And then looking at it by country, there are 21 countries that are representing the millennials and the Gen Z. Now you have, out of the 21 countries, 10 of them are from Europe, which is almost 50%. Now let me name them for you, the countries where they are from. There's countries like Germany, Norway, Ireland, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, United Kingdom, Switzerland, France, and Poland. Now those are the European countries that have the millennial billionaires being represented, and also the Gen Z. And then followed by Asia, that have 6 countries, which includes China, Hong Kong, India, Singapore, Lebanon, and Japan. And by the way, not forgetting, there are 2 countries that are representing the transcontinental border between Europe and Asia, and that is Russia and Turkey. So instead of 21, let me edit in my notes. It's going to be 23 instead of 21. So 10 out of 23 countries are in Europe. Sorry for that, just clarifying. And then going into North America, there are 2, basically the United States and Canada, and the same number as of South America, that is Brazil and Colombia. And then the one and only country from Oceania that has been represented in this special category of billionaires, that is Australia. So in total, 23 countries being represented, and 10 out of 23 are from Europe. Only 2 are representing the transcontinental area between Europe and Asia, that is Russia and Turkey. And then to my amazement, there is no millennial billionaire from Africa. Now that causes worry for those who are Africans, people like me. Why is there no millennial billionaire from Africa to be on the Forbes list? Now I don't want to try and cause a tug of war between people or groups or nations, but I think it's all about the mindset. It all comes down to that one factor, the mindset, on how to handle wealth. And I believe that if you have the right mindset and you are consistent, with your actions, and you are repeatedly doing it well, then I believe your journey towards the billionaire ranks is going to be clearer, and at the same time it's going to be faster. So that's how I find it amazing, or should I say shocking, that there is no millennial billionaire from Africa. And even as I was looking at the real-time ranking of the Forbes billionaires list, until now there is no millennial billionaire from Africa. I'm not saying that Forbes magazine should start going to Africa and go to each and every nation to see whether there's somebody of that category, but I think it all comes down to maybe there are so many multimillionaires, and maybe most of them don't live in mainland Africa. I don't know. Maybe somebody should put in their comments and share their thoughts. But I think having such a wide group of billionaires like that, 121 as of last year, and maybe a bit more than that number even as I await the 2022 list by Forbes magazine, which will celebrate its 30th anniversary since its first ever international list of billionaires. And as for the American version, which is called the Forbes 400, they'll celebrate their 40th anniversary later this year, to mark the first time that they ever released the list of American billionaires, which back then there were very few billionaires and many millionaires, if you are to do your research. Now, do you want to know? Now, I'm sure I've answered your question on how many millennial billionaires are there, and I've already answered your question. Maybe do you want to know some examples of famous billionaires who are millennials? Let me check down on my notes if there are those examples, because it's really important that you really need to know this group of people, because that one can give you motivation, can give you ideas on how to really come out of your comfort zone and be able to join the other young billionaires. I mean, anything is possible, and if you put your mind to it and you're consistent, then you're on the way there. Now let me give you some examples of those who have already achieved that status. And from my notes I put on the laptop, we got billionaires like Katarina Andresen, 26 years old, from Denmark, whose source of wealth is the investments from apparel. You have people like Jonathan Kwok, the son of the Kwok brothers, who are well known for real estate. You have Stanley Tang and Andy Fan, those who own DoorDash, the food delivery app. They are 29 years old. You have people like Evan Spiegel, the founder of Snapchat, who is currently now 31. That's another millennial to really get inspired and know more about. You have people like Patrick Collison, the founder of Stripe, the payment software, the person from Ireland, 33 years old. You have Bobby Murphy, the co-founder of Snapchat. You have, there are just so many. Just few months ago or weeks ago, Rihanna joins the list of millennial billionaires. You all know Rihanna for a cosmetics company called Savage X Fenty, and then also her music catalog. That's how she was able to make it. And this is someone from Barbados. Just the other day, she was recognized as a national hero in Barbados as they celebrated their independence from the UK, and Rihanna was honored, being the first honorary recipient of the National Roll of Honor. That's really a big milestone for her and her family, and her coming from the island, being recruited by Jay-Z, and everything else is history. Even if you look at the timeline of her career, she has really achieved a lot within a very short time. And then you have Lucas Walton, a member of the Walton family, the richest family in the world according to Forbes, who are well known for Walmart. That's something you can learn from. You have Christopher Koch, who is again part of the Koch family. You have the daughter of the richest woman in Australia, Genia Reinhardt, who are well known for mining in Australia. You got Geoffrey Koch, another member of the Koch family. You have Mark Zuckerberg, who is the richest millennial. You know, the founder of Facebook. He's 37 years old, as I tell you now. So get inspired by such examples, and hopefully, if you're a millennial and you're watching me or you're listening to me right now, wherever you are, get some notes from this inspired people who have inspired this generation, people who have inspired the Gen Z and the Generation Alpha. That when you I'm not saying that you copy paste exactly, but if you get the bits and pieces on how they started their businesses and maybe you wanted to start one, then I think nothing is difficult. The sky is the limit. It's just a matter of mindset, preparation, and hard work. You have Dustin Moskovitz, the one of the founding members of Facebook. You have Tom Parson, a member of the Parson family of H&M. For those who don't know what H&M is, it means Hennes and Moritz. A retail company in Sweden. That's someone you can really look up to and see. You have Zhang Yiming, the man behind TikTok. He's 38 years old. Currently is worth $59 billion. TikTok has really been a hit maker ever since it was known in the Western world and even in Africa too. And many people have been using TikTok, and many people have used TikTok as their source of income. I mean, what a blessing to have an app like that. For me personally, I don't use the app, but I'm sure the founder of this app has really given a platform for those who are not knowing how to be doing with their talent and their gifts, and that already is a source of income for many people. You have Nathan Blechasik, one of the founding members of Airbnb. The everything to do with the hospitality. You have Agnet Kirk Tingard, 38 years old, one of the members of the family that owns Lego or founded Lego. You have Daniel Ek, the founder of Spotify, 38 years old, currently is worth 2.9 billion or 3 billion. He's a man who who tried to buy Arsenal, and of course Stanley Kroenke did not let that happen because he's that powerful in the sports business world. So he's the one who is behind Spotify, and you all know very well Spotify is also another source of revenue for many young musicians, podcasters like myself. Even though I'm not yet fully monetized or on my way there, but I know I'm going to reach there through my podcast content. If people like you who are watching me or who are listening to me have been consistently commenting, sharing it with their loved ones, I mean, I'm so blessed to have such a group of fans like you being a part of it. You have Adam Koch, another member of the Koch family, known for real estate. Kevin Systrom, one of the founding members of Instagram. He's worth 1.7 billion as of now, 38 years old. You go to Eduardo Saverin, the one of the founding members of Facebook, 39 years old. He's now worth $12.3 billion. You got Scott Duncan, the son to the late founder of a pub playing company. If I'm not wrong, it's called Tim Duncan. He passed away like more than a decade ago, 39 years old. You have Lindsay Snyder, 39 years old too, a member of the family that owns In-N-Out Burger. We got let me see my notes. Brian Chesky, co-founder of Airbnb, he's 40 years old. Joe Gebbia, another founding member of Airbnb, 40 years old. And maybe to give you one more or two, Edward Koch, another brother from another brother in the Koch family who was real estate. You have Sachin Bansal, founding member of Flipkart, worth 1.1 billion. I mean, those are the people you should really be inspired by. And last but not least, Kim Kardashian West, the ex-wife to Ye, who made most of our money through cosmetics and reality TV, which all know is Keeping Up the Kardashians and its spin-offs. Yeah, so that's it for the episode of the OpEdia podcast. So if you are touched by it, please let me know, comment, share, follow, subscribe to it on all platforms possible that I'm going to put the links at the end of this video. I hope that this op-ed has inspired you and has helped you kickstart something. If you don't know what to do, those are the examples you can look from and be able to take notes and see how you can kickstart. Otherwise, you will take me later. But for now, that's it for the episode of the OpEdia podcast. Until the next episode, it's goodbye and have a blessed day from wherever you are around the world.